The last session over in Shin went a little bit long with the governor, so I know some people are still making their way over here. But out of respect for your time, we're going to go ahead and get going. But welcome to our academic symposium here in the College of Business. And the whole idea is our new president, Candace McQueen, has asked each college to address this topic about being the light. And of course, our focus in the College of Business to support our mission statement is being the light in the marketplace. Now, I did a good plug over there because the gentleman in front of me is the interim dean of the College of Education, reminded the audience that the president is hosting their session right now at the same time. And but I reminded them that our mission statement is to develop business leaders who embrace the values and virtues of Jesus. And one of those virtues is being bold. So I said we were the only ones on campus bold enough to go against the same time slot as the president. Or it may be foolish. So the audience had choices, and some of them are still drifting in. But thank you very much. And so we want to get this show on the road. We got a great panel. That's one thing I think any other symposium is not going to be able to produce. And it's led by, and our moderator, Centoya Brown-Long. And I don't know if you've met her, but she is our assistant director of our Center for Business's mission, a very important piece of the College of Business and us executing our mission. Author, speaker, the executive director of JFAM, and we're so proud to have her as part of the College of Business. And Centoya, other than the chairman of the board is interrupting you right now. No, but it's all yours then.
Well, thank you guys for showing up. This is going to be a really great panel. As you said, we have some fantastic guests. But today we want to invite all of you to re-envision what it means to create value in the marketplace. Some of you may be really great at selling products or services or coordinating some of the various business functions within your organizations. Many of you may be really great at telling people what to do with their money, like one of our panelists. But whatever your field is today, I want to challenge you to leave here with a new understanding of what it means to effectively operate in business with purpose, boldness, creativity, credibility, and above all, servant-heartedness. The Center for Business Mission, as Ray said, is the COB's hub for all things impact-driven. We specialize in the kind of business that seeks to steward all stakeholders and all opportunities to measure success differently through multiple bottom lines. Or in other words, not business as usual. Business is often seen in a negative light, rife with undercutting, corner cutting, and the dreaded budget cutting. So it's especially interesting that we're here to talk today about business being a light, a good kind of light. But within the world of business's mission, as we affectionately call what we do BAM, because it's truly a holy collision that can create a positive impact in so many ways. So without further ado, please welcome our special guest panel and fellow BAM practitioners. Winston Justice is an investment advisor and vice president at AllianceBernstein. After dominating the field in a 9-year NFL career with the Eagles, Colts, and Broncos, Winston took his talents to the finance industry. Under Wells Fargo Securities, he was an analyst and managed money for institutions and family offices. Along the way, he co-founded MJC Capital, an early-stage investment vehicle, Elixir, an award-winning gourmet cafe and roastery, and served as the portfolio manager for PIA's Alternative Investments Group, where he was mentored by Lloyd McAdams. In summary, if you need somebody to tell you what to do with your money, he's the man. Winston holds an MBA from George Washington University, a bachelor's in public policy from the University of Southern California, and the Certified Investment Management Analyst designation from Yale School of Management. He has a deep understanding of finance and strong dedication to philanthropic work, and we're honored to have him impart his wisdom to our students here in his role as adjunct professor of finance. Our next panelist is the amazing and incomparable Mignon Francoiss. Mignon is the founder and CEO of the Cupcake Collection, although many of you may know her for her famous sweet potato cupcakes. And her lively and infectious personality, her team, and a host of up-and-coming entrepreneurs Know her as a mentor and leader who values giving hugs and listening as much as she does crunching numbers and creating the craze behind her signature bakes. Using her follow your spirit approach, Mignon developed an iconic flavor that drew lines and attention to the hip nature of her historic Germantown neighborhood. Since planting her roots here in 2008, Mignon's business savvy has earned her the titles Woman of Legend and Merit by Tennessee State University, Emerging Business Leader of the Year, and Black Enterprise Magazine Family Business of the Year. Her leadership with the local community includes roles with the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation Foundation, Nashville Entrepreneur Center, Pathway Women's Business Center, and Republic Charter Schools. Mignon has graduated from Xavier University in New Orleans and received her Bachelor of Science degree from Houston Baptist University in 1999. And last, but most certainly not least, I want you guys to welcome Patrick Ledden. Patrick is a highly sought-after leadership consultant whose client roster spans the globe. He's known for his intensive hands-on leadership and management experience coupled with first-class academic rigor and expertise. He served as U.S. Master Parachutist in the Army, Infantry Ranger Qualified Officer before going on to manage projects at KPMG Consulting. Alongside his wife, Jamie, who's here with us in the back, he created and managed Wedgwood Consulting Group, an Inc. 5000 company. Launching off the success of Wedgwood, in 2018, Jamie and Patrick launched Ledden Group to help leaders and teams to win on their top priorities. In addition to his work at Ledden Group, Patrick is an associate professor at Vanderbilt University, where he teaches corporate strategy, negotiation, advanced marketing, and crisis leadership. He's the associate director of Vanderbilt University's Business Studies program and is author of the Wall Street Journal bestseller, which is available for sale out there in the lobby, The 5-Week Leadership Challenge, 35 Action Steps to Become the Leader You Were Meant to Be. And somehow he manages to find the time to also host a podcast called The Leadership Lab. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right. So thank you guys for joining me. From those introductions, it's clear that you guys are power players in your field.
Although I have to admit, you forgot to mention my 9-year NFL career.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. I'll feel it.
So y'all very successful, but what intrigues me most is that each of you has unique perspectives and experiences on what it means to be a light in business. So I would like to know, I can start with you, Patrick. What are some of the ways that you're seeing or experiencing business in a way that is a light to others?
That's a great question. I was thinking about the concept of light in the marketplace, and clearly by saying light in the marketplace, we mean there's obviously darkness in the marketplace.
Right.
And we're looking to stand out or step out in the darkness. And I'm a fairly pragmatic person. I like to think about what's happening in the moment and how we can leverage that and learn from that. And about 2 weeks ago, I was in New York City talking to a group of leaders at a company called IBM. And we were talking about, in case you didn't hear of them before, so we were talking at IBM about coming out of COVID. And you know how we all have these moments in our lives where we turn the page from one chapter to another? We all have these chapter-changing moments. So you're in school, and then you start your career. You're in a relationship, and you come out of a relationship. Or you're not in a relationship, and you start a relationship with someone. Or perhaps you change jobs or move companies. There's all these moments in our lives where we turn the page to a new chapter. And in each of those situations, I would argue that there's times where you kind of look over your shoulder and long for the past chapter a little bit. So like right now, many of you are in the throes of school, and you think like you just can't wait for this to be over type moment sometimes because you're trying to get through the semester or whatever. But there's going to be a time where you look over your shoulder and say, I miss those times where I could hang out with my friends or had a little bit more flexibility in my schedule. But we're all turning the page in COVID. Right, we're turning this chapter, and we're a little hesitant to say it because I don't want to say we've fully turned the chapter page, but we're turning the page to this new chapter. And this is a chapter where we turn the page, and we're not necessarily looking over our shoulder going, I'm longing for the mask. Can I put that back on every day type of thing? Or, boy, social distancing, that was my jam, or whatever it might be. You know, we're not thinking these type of things. Many of us are like, I want to move on. But I was telling these leaders, and I think this is helpful when we think about being a light in the marketplace, there's actually some things that happened in COVID, practices we picked up, that would help us to be better lights in the marketplace.
Yes.
For example, clarification. When resources are limited, you have to be really clear on what matters. Communication. When leaders feel like they're separated, physically separated from their people, they felt like they needed to lean more into communication. I know leaders, CEOs that would write daily emails to their people. And creation. We've created some things faster than ever before. Over at Vanderbilt, I heard the CEO of the hospital say that in what was a 5-year initiative to do telemedicine became a 3-week project because we had to. And now they see 20,000 patients a day via telemedicine, and patient satisfaction is higher than ever before. So my point is, when you think about clarification and communication and creation, as we turn the chapter to post-COVID, this is an amazing time to leverage things like that to be better lights in the world. Things that we thought would never happen are happening. And unlike technology that enables telemedicine, we have a much more powerful force behind our mission. And I think if we leverage that, we can have a huge impact in the world.
Well, speaking of chapters, Ms. Francoiss, I hear that you recently signed a publishing deal and you'll be telling your own story. So looking forward to that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you look forward to sharing about how you are a light in your business and your book?
So is this thing on? For me, I heard Patrick say that he's a pragmatic person. And I am more faith-based. And I'm learning in my studies that you can't be a person of faith and a realist at the same time. It's either you exercise faith or you look at what's real. And for me, I've been able to be a lighthouse in the community by showing people what it means to exercise faith. What I love about being in an environment like this one is you get to come with Jesus unapologetically. And if I don't get to take Jesus with me, I'm not coming.
Okay.
And what I love about that is in business, people often don't expect Jesus to show up. But at the end of the day, Jesus was a businessman. Before we see him changing the world with disciples, he was running a business in carpentry, right? And so I imagine that those things he was building, he was also selling, right? And so for me, it's been about faith. I don't have what anyone else has. You know, I don't have a whole bunch of letters behind my name except for maybe Mommy Esquire. I am a grandmother, which means I probably have my doctorate in motherhood.
Those are arguably the most important things. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
So.
But at the end of the day, I stand as a representative that everything you have is everything you need. It's kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. You had it all along. And I think it's from operating in that space of less than enough, that in that low place, God says, I will supply your needs according to what I own. And I will give you what you need. In your weakness, I become strong. So the more you just allow yourself to be weak and not be enough, I show up as more than enough. And it's that bigness of Christ, that bigness of God that's living on the inside of me that allows me to come into a room with confidence.
Okay.
And I think it's in that I'm spreading my light.
Love that. I love that. Y'all didn't know y'all were here for a sermon, did you?
Told you I'm bringing Jesus every time.
Okay, so Winston, with you being in the finance industry, some people they really don't understand, how can you be a light in finance? When you think of finance, it's always about, cutting corners or trying to get the most for yourself. There's a lot of negative connotations there, but what are some of the examples of being a light in the finance industry that you've seen, and how do you bring that light in the work that you do?
Yeah, I just have to backtrack and actually just acknowledge that you look great as a grandmother. When you said that, I was like, you look awesome.
Thank you. There's 8 of them.
Yeah, wow. And then also, another point you made was you are enough, right? I see a lot of, students in here, right? And we all go through, even now, right? Am I enough, right? I grew up with a really bad stutter, so I grew up always thinking, am I enough, right? And I still go through that, and I think everyone here, even I look around, I see some of the professionals right here, and Ray, Rob, I think we all still go through that. So I just want to reiterate that you are enough, right? You're perfectly and wonderfully created, right?
Amen.
So with finance, you could really be alike because, finances are really intimate, right? People talk about anything else, right? Anything except finances. They're really great. So to be in those rooms, in those conversations about finance, you could really make a really big impact on a family or an institution that you're working with, because you're in those intimate settings, right? So for me, it's a mission field, right? I think my role at Bernstein is, something that God had a really big part in, and that's what I have. That's my task, right? Is the job I'm doing right now is a mission field. That's just one of them, right? You have your family, you have, the community you're in, but for me, finance is a mission field.
All right, well, if you're interested in extending that mission to somebody trying to find some light on how to figure out how to not pay all these taxes around this time,
Yeah, that's hard to avoid.
yeah, let me know.
Yeah.
So, all right, so along this, in business, no matter what your specialty is, the one thing that you hear a lot is the word sustainability. Here in the College of Business, it's a word that we use interchangeably with success, right? And so one of the reasons why business can be so impactful is that it inherently has to be sustainable. But beyond that, what would you say about the role sustainable practices plays in actually being a light in the marketplace? Winston?
Oh, man. Well, sustainability right now has so much, I guess, different meanings, right? At Bernstein, we have sustainable portfolios, right? And that's actually one of the biggest, asset classes that institutions, use. So sustainability means different things to different people, right? But sustainability to me really means the sustainability and also how your employees and how the people you lead actually lead better lives afterwards, right? Both of my positions with Bernstein and also my coffee shops, the employees that I do hire, they're both very transitory jobs. So when I hire an associate, normally they're going to be with me for 5 years and they're going to go on and be an analyst. They're going to go on and be an advisor themselves. With the coffee shops, as Rob knows, a barista is not going to be a lifetime barista, right? Hopefully. I can't pay them enough. So I want them to come into the community with Bernstein or the community with Elixir Coffee, and then I want them to leave better than when they came. So for me, sustainability starts with the employee.
And I know you know a little something about that because you've definitely shown that you have staying power. So what do you have to say to that about sustainability and how it helps you to be a light?
I think one of the greatest things that has helped me, and to Patrick's point, nobody is saying, let's go back to, this shutdown that we've been in. And it always makes me sad every time I see a business close and I see some kind of responsibility in that. I say, man, I never went to that place, And I think we have an important responsibility to not only support other people's businesses, but also support the people within our business. And what I did was I went back and I studied the Great Depression. I noticed that I opened a business in a recession with no money, no knowledge, no experience, no credit. I was losing the house that I had to foreclosure sale, knew the date that it was going to sell at foreclosure sale, less than a month from the day that I opened my store in that place. Believing that if God is who he says he is, he can do what he says he can do. And so I'm like, okay, God, you better start showing up because I'm going to tell everybody. And I think that that's been my secret, that I place it on God. As young people in the room, have you ever said, on God, I'm going to do that? It's kind of like, bet. And I think that that has been my staying power. I don't know any of this stuff. I can't boast that I've had, any experience in financials, and I can't boast that I have, this great and amazing book about leadership.
You will.
But yeah, amen, I receive it. But I have sat in Bart Lytle's class and learned about, how to figure out costs and those sort of things. And it was studying the Great Depression that led me to an example. What I want you to understand is that the Bible says that there's nothing new under the sun. So if there's nothing new under the sun, then we can look at the past to inform the future. And so all we have to do is look for other examples where we've seen this happen before. So while people were saying that we've never experienced anything like this, that wasn't the case. That if we would look back in history, we would see where something like this did happen before. And we can look to the examples of the successes that came out of it. Some of the major names that we know today grew out of how they responded during crisis. And those are some of the major names that still exist today. And we saw ourselves rising out of the ashes. Now, this is of no goodness of our own. It is no ability of our own. It is the God within us who we're listening to for information. He says, I will whisper the things to you that are to come. And we've just been smart enough to listen and follow.
Obedience.
Obedience.
All right. Well, Patrick, I know that you know.
It's hard to add to this.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I think when we think about sustainability, and it's a buzzword. We hear a lot about sustainability these days, and I'm not saying a buzzword in a negative way. It's good if we're more informed and we think a little bit more long-term is a good thing. But I also know that this is all smoke. This is all going to pass. Everything around you is going to pass. And it's going to pass more quickly than any of us can understand because we don't have a long-term eternal perspective. So I think that when you think about everything that you're involved in right now, every relationship you have, every organization you're working with, everything you're building and growing, we have a duty because it's not ours to sustain it, to figure out how we carry it forward, whatever that looks like. So if we see a restaurant and we say, I never went there, there's a degree of I own helping that be more sustainable. I own that. I can speak a word to someone else that can help them in the moment to maybe persevere through a tough time. And getting my pragmatic side on this, oftentimes when I'm working with clients, to help them think about the long term, because if we don't do it at times, what we'll do is we will kill the goose to get the golden egg. So I ask them to think about whenever they're setting goals, or I call them priorities, I'll use the term priorities, I say look at it in three ways. And I encourage all of us when we're setting goals for ourselves, I call it reform, perform, and transform. So set a goal that's a reform goal, something that you're struggling with right now that maybe you could turn around and make a little bit better. All right, you're a steward of that. How can you turn it around and make it better? Perform is how can you take something you're already doing okay at and take it up a notch. And then transform is how do we create or tackle a goal that a year or two from now will make us completely different than we are right now in good ways, that if we didn't set it as a goal, we wouldn't get there. And to me, that transform component on top of the other two is really all about stewardship. I want to maintain productivity today and deliver results and earn the right to deliver even better things in the future so that I can hand it on to other people.
Wow. Well, that was amazing. I'm still contemplating on what Mignon was saying. You're about to have me start shouting in here. But for my next question, just to keep up this conversation, in Business's Mission, we often talk about how we respect multiple bottom lines, right? It's not just about the dollar. It's not just about the profit. There's many things that we take into consideration. And so when we're teaching that, when we teach the students here in the College of Business, we talk about the virtues and values of Jesus. And if he was a businessman today, he would be respecting these multiple bottom lines. And of those virtues and values, Patrick, I want to know, why is purpose important in business? Why do you speak to the people that you consult with about purpose and the importance of having purpose in addition to those priorities?
Yeah, purpose is critical. In the book I wrote, the second area is all around purpose. And if you have your mission and your vision, kind of the what we do and where we want to go over time, purpose is the why. Why are we doing this? How do you find meaning? How do your people find meaning? People in the room who, any of us who've had a hard week at work, you know, you drive home at the end of the day, or a hard week at school, you drive home at the end of the day or walk back to your dorm or whatever and go, what did I do this week that really mattered? And we can all tolerate that, you know, 1 or 2 weeks. But if we stack a whole bunch of weeks on top of themselves where you feel like what you did didn't matter, talk about the source of disengagement and frustration and bad relationships when you walk through that door into your home. So purpose really does matter. I've just learned a lot, if you will, over doing things wrong and studying other people who've done things wrong, like myself, at times, about, you know, where is the source of much of our ability to find that meaning. And in the book I wrote came out with by HarperCollins, and I teach at Vanderbilt, but I still made sure that book said 35 action steps, my pragmatic side, 35 action steps to become the leader you were meant to be. Because we were designed to be certain types of leaders. So when I think about, you know, purpose, many years ago, when I was in the infantry in the Army, or when I ran a business, our first business, I probably thought that much of my power, if you will, came from my position. So infantry, the Army exists because of the infantry. Put me in an infantry platoon leader job, and that way I can push my way through because of my role. And I would call it putting myself at the tip of the spear. Mm-hmm. But now I've realized that the tip of our spear, all of our tip of our spears, is understanding our talents, our natural gifts, listening to our inner voice, our conscience, and then thinking what we're really passionate about, what's been laid upon us, our talents, our inner voice, and our passion. That's the tip. Mm-hmm. And how do we leverage that? That's where the opportunity exists to help everybody figure out what is their tip of the spear and then put them in a position to succeed. And if we can do that, we're going to have a lot less days coming home feeling like, what did I get done? And more important, if we do it and we're a light in the marketplace, we're going to expand the kingdom faster than anybody can imagine.
Well, let me ask you this, because I wasn't going to ask, but you opened the door.
All right.
So with you working at Vanderbilt, you know, here at Lipscomb, we're free to practice our faith. We're free to talk about it. And I mean, I don't know if it's like that with Vanderbilt being, you know, not necessarily a faith-based institution.
No, it's not.
So how do you adjust to that? Like, how can you still bring that part of your side to the work that you do there at Vanderbilt?
Well, in all honesty, it's a bit liberating to come down here. And I like to come down when you invite me to come down to things. I like to come down. But in many ways, that's the world. Where I'm at Vanderbilt, it's the world. And I choose to be there. And by choosing to be there in small and hopefully large ways at times, I can be that light. We talk oftentimes about, you know, you see somebody doing something differently and you say, why does she do it that way? Why does he do it that way? What's going on? And people that kind of see something different in you, hopefully in me at times, might be like wanting to talk to me about it. Have a cup of coffee. Let's go down to your shop. Have a cupcake. And let's talk about, you know, what makes you different. And that opens the door to have that conversation. And I've had that conversation plenty of times. And they haven't made me leave yet. So I'm going to keep doing it.
All right. Well, Mignon, you are definitely the epitome of creativity and boldness. So can you talk about the importance of that in the work that you do and in business?
I think, is this helping anybody? Okay. I think that it's important when it comes to creativity that we all were placed here for a reason. We all were placed here in order to leave our impression or our mark. And I think that a lot of times we don't take ownership of that creativity because we think it's ours. We think we own it, and we don't.
Right.
That our lives are created to bring glory to God.
Amen.
That is what we're supposed to be doing. And that's what all of our, you know, ultimate purpose is. However we get there is going to be different. But I think that what happens is that God has called us all into collaboration with him. That he told us to go out and be fruitful and multiply. And in order to be fruit, we have to stay connected to God and let God pour into us and we receive back from him. And I think when we place our hands to do anything, we're placing God's signature stamp on it. And that's why each of us have our own unique set of signatures on us, that our fingertips belong to us. They are God's signature stamp on our lives. And the more and more we collaborate with him, we're asking him to put his signature stamp on the things we place our hands to do. So being creative is essentially collaboration with God. And I love to use this example. I talk to my team every morning before we open the store. And instead of a team huddle, we have prayer together. And we pray for every team member, what they're going through. And we pray for everybody that's going to come into our store. You're going to cross that door sill. We're praying for you, whether you like it or not. And so I think it's like this. When we're all given a measure of ability, we're all given a measure of faith. So you don't have to work for it. It is a gift that God gave each one of us. And so if you use that measure similar to drawing, each person has been given a measure of the ability to draw. And so you might start that by drawing your name, right? And so when you're a little child, you might hold the pencil, like a child, and you're learning to draw your letters that eventually become your name, that by the time you become a teenager, it becomes your signature. And as your signature grows with you, you adapt that signature to become a work of art. And some people then take that ability to draw their name and turn it into calligraphy. And some people take that ability to draw their name and turn it into the ability to decorate a cake. Regardless, it was that collaboration, that measure that was given to you and how you practiced it that allowed you to turn that signature into something creative. And it has, am I the only one that as a girl or as a young teenager, I practiced how my name was gonna look? Like when you're learning or you're thinking about what you're gonna be when you grow up, you're thinking about how you're gonna sign those contracts. And when I was a little girl, I played business. So while other people were playing house, I was playing work, right? And I remember playing bank, and I always wanted to be the branch manager, and I would practice signing my name on documents and, all that kind of stuff. And that was fun to me. And I think that has just carried over into my life as an adult, that we each were given a measure of creativity, and how you use it and what you develop that into is all uniquely your own. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. Thank you. Winston, what would you say about another of our virtues and values that we teach, credibility? What do you think of the importance of credibility in business?
Yeah, well, first of all, I know I keep backtracking, but I'm learning a lot here, right? I probably learn so much more from people than I have from degrees. So
Me too.
This is actually really helping me, right? So thank you. Credibility, I think it starts with the small things, right? It's the small, monotonous things that build integrity and character. And normally, when you build these, that focus isn't on yourself; it's on other people. When every morning with Bernstein, the team I lead, we have an 8:30 call, and we have our case studies. Our cases for the day, and it's really a monotonous thing, right? We go one case by case by case, and a lot of the younger associates that come in, they feel like they don't. They ask, well, why do we have to do this every day, right? And I say, well, it builds a character, right? Because we do the small things every day. With the coffee shop, we have a set of processes, and it's really monotonous, right? Even to the point where we really want our managers, we want our baristas to I'm not sure if you do this, Rob, but you actually have them check if they clean the bathroom, or if they washed a certain item, right? We actually want them to check it because I think that builds integrity, it builds a character, because it's not really about you, it's about you building a team, it's about the people you serve in any aspect or any field you're in.
All right. Well, I could sit here and just talk for hours, but unfortunately, we have limited time. So I just wanted to wrap this up with one final question for all of you. And that is, what would you like to tell the audience about how they can go out into their respective markets and be a light out there in the marketplace? I can start with you, Patrick, if you want.
I think one of the best ways we can be a light is we need to know the Scripture. We need to work to live the Scripture. We need to be clear on why we've been placed here. But we also sometimes need to reframe our own mind at times. Because the results you achieve are the function of the behaviors you take, the actions you take. Yeah, there's some outside forces at times that might cause, the test question to not be what you expected it to be or whatever it might be, or the competition does something. But in general, your results come from your behaviors, and your behaviors come from your mindset. So I think one of the best ways we can, have an impact in the world and to make a difference on a day-to-day perspective is to reset our mindset, is to recognize that even the things you don't necessarily want to do, like checking everything off that list, it's not I have to, I must. No, it's I choose to. I choose to do this. I choose to be here today. I choose to have this conversation. I choose to sit in this session. And it's an honor to do that. And not an honor just like, I'm taking an internship, what an honor and privilege, like people put on their LinkedIn or whatever. I mean, it's truly an honor to get to do this. It's an honor to get to be around folks. It's kind of corny, but I sign all of my messages, and people pick up on it over time. Every email I sign off, I always write, make it a great day, with an exclamation point. Not have a great day. Not by some happenstance, things go well for you that day. Make it a great day. Choose to do that. And I think that goes a long way toward resetting our mindset. And to me, over time, when I get to check those things off, I start to own it. I start to be empowered by it. I start to feel like I'm doing it not just to check the list, but I'm doing it as an example of God's work in me.
All right. Winston, you want to jump in?
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to take a lot of what you're saying. So,
just write me an email every day. You'll get back. Make it a great day.
Yeah, make it a great day.
I got one.
You'll see I'm consistent. I'll just keep checking that thing out.
There you go. Check it out. Yeah. Hey, those lists come in handy.
Oh, no doubt.
To add to that, I don't want to make this list really long, but for the students here, I definitely want to say that you should try to make every opportunity, use every opportunity to get better, right? And not just for yourself, but get better for your team, get better for the glory of God, right? But get better. But use every opportunity. That means the good and also the bad, right? And do you have time for a story or?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So this is a football story. When I was in high school, I was an outside linebacker, right? And I grew late, and when I showed up at USC, I was about 4 inches taller and about 50 pounds heavier. And Pete Carroll was like, "Hey, why don't you try out right tackle?" And then if you guys don't know football, it's on the other side of the ball doing something totally different. And I was like, all right. And I felt like I didn't have a choice. And he was going to send me back to Long Beach if I didn't say yeah. And so I was like, sure. So I'm playing tackle, and I remember trying not to lose, right? And that's a bad way to play any sports or approach anything in life, right? I was playing not to lose. And Pete Carroll came up to me and he was like, well, Winston, there's no mistakes, right? Only opportunities to get better, right? And I'm like, well, there's a mistake if I give him a sack. I mean, Carson Palmer is going to be knocked out, So I didn't get it then. But when I got older, it's true. Look, you have to use every opportunity to get better. Even the mistakes, you can learn from that. And also the good parts too, right? There's even after good games, even after good meetings, even after good exits. There's also opportunities to get better, right? So that's what I'm telling you. Use every opportunity to get better.
All right, and Miss Francoiss, if you don't mind taking us home.
Give me that question one more time.
The question was, wait a minute, let me put my card out. Oh, what would you say to the audience? about being a light in the marketplace? Like, how can they take away everything they've learned today? How can they actually put that in practice?
Yeah. So both of these examples were really good. And I think for me, the thing that I want to tell you is don't be afraid to ask. I remember sitting in classes here at Lipscomb working on my master's. And I would go to the front of the class and I would always raise my hand and say, "Excuse me, what does that mean?" I didn't know what certain things meant. I didn't know what EBITDA was. And it was kind of like, duh. And I felt like everybody around me was smarter than me. And I feel like when you come to the situation not being the smartest one in the room, and that you humble yourself to ask questions, I think that makes you more approachable, and that makes people receive you better, and they want to help you, and that is a thing that has made me more successful. I think my transparency has opened doors for me, whereas people wanted to help me to learn what it was that I didn't know. And just not being afraid to ask. And if you can't ask people, ask God. Yeah.
I ask him first, because people steal you wrong every time. Well, this has been wonderful. So I just want to thank you guys, and I will close by saying, as Assistant Director of Business's Mission, if any of you are interested in learning how to be a light in the marketplace, I highly encourage you, if you're a student, to swing on by the Center for Business's Mission, and we can get you connected to some opportunities to actually learn in real life how you can do that. For those of you who are out there in the marketplace, we're also willing to connect you with some experiences, connect you with some mentors, and some opportunities. We're always looking for donors, I'm just saying. So yeah, reach out to Rob or I and get involved. But thank you for coming out to celebrate this day with us. It's truly a historic moment. Congratulations, Dr. Candace McQueen. I'm very honored that she allowed us to be part of this day with her. So thank you, Rob, if you wanted to come up and say a few words.
Well, as we close, I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to Centoya and to our panelists. What an amazing job. Mignon, earlier you said, I think you kind of did a little bit of a crowd check. Is this helpful for anyone? And let me be the first to say yes.
Yes.
So yes, Mignon. Yes, Patrick. Yes, Winston. And on behalf of all, big yes. So I hope you can see why we truly are excited about this intersection of business and mission. We really believe that this is one of the greatest ways to make an impact in the world around us. It's so good to see business leaders and students and all of you here who also are engaging in those different ways. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you again to our panelists. We hope you have a great, wonderful rest of the day.